Firewalk and Sony met in a bar. They went home that night, had a one-night stand, and Firewalk hit up Sony and said, "Hey, I'm pregnant." Sony said, "Fuck that." And yeah, now we're here today where Concord no longer exists. Concord really does feel like a baby that nobody wanted. It never had the time and effort that it really needed, and the first signs of any struggles, Sony just abandoned it. Granted, Sony did hand out refunds, and I've got to say that's actually a great surprise. But I've also got to say that if you bought into Concord anyway after seeing the beta, you kind of had it coming to lose your money. I mean, it's like buying into CryptoZoo. You gave your money to Logan Paul. What did you expect to happen? Ultimately, if you bought into Concord and or CryptoZoo, you deserve to lose the right to make or spend money in any meaningful capacity. Somehow Sony has managed to talk more about Concord than Mr. Beast has talked about him covering up SA at his own company, allegedly. But that's a different story for another time. Although seriously, Mr. Beast, how long do you think you can keep letting these videos come out before you address them? Now, pretty much the rest of this video is going to be me trying to figure out, what's the strategy for Sony here? These multiplayer games aren't really paying off. Bungie's an absolute disaster on their new project from all things we've heard from it. When are you just going to realize that the PlayStation is a single player console? Sony somehow is making Xbox seem like an actual viable console. At this current moment, if they keep going down this path, I don't see a reason to continue buying a PlayStation when I can get Game Pass on Xbox. Most games are probably going to start moving to being on PC as well, so that's another reason why I just wouldn't buy games on PlayStation. Obviously, a big reason for Sony's shift is because Microsoft acquired their biggest multiplayer game on their console, in Call of Duty. But that is Sony's fault. Relying so heavily on a third party you don't own to make multiplayer games for your console was a huge oversight. But honestly, I think the core reason why Concord failed and why it was shut down so soon is because players are just sick and tired of the live service, as a whole. The whole identity of a live service title that costs you money is just an outdated tactic. It hasn't worked since Overwatch, to my knowledge, and I don't think it will work. Players are sick and tired of getting their assholes spread open for every single penny in their wallet, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So what's next for Firewalk as a studio? If I had to guess, not being open for business. They failed miserably on their first go around, and normally in the industry, when you're owned by a big company like Sony, that just means instant closure. What I think is next for Sony, however, is shutting down Bungie. Bungie's next game, I'm assuming, is going to be a flop from everything we're hearing about it, and I have very low expectations for what Bungie can accomplish. But Sony's just joining the market so late. There's already established IPs that people know and love. There's brand new IPs that have released recently too that people know and love, and you're just kind of late. People aren't going to trust a brand new studio with their wallet, especially when it costs them $40 up front and you're expected to pay microtransactions to keep the game going. And just like your girlfriend being late on her period, there is literally never a good time to be late for anything. Now, speaking for the entire gaming industry, I'm really hoping that Sony pumps billions of dollars into this live service effort and then it fails miserably. Why? Well, because hopefully if a big budget studio like Sony pumped billions on top of billions into something and it didn't work, they'll catch the hint that players don't want live service titles over single player ones, well, at least most people. And having multiplayer live service games are nice to have in the industry, but they don't need to be the industry norm. Mobile games are an absolute clusterfuck, and unfortunately that looks like where the industry is heading at this current moment. All these games want to be a live service title, they want to maximize profits, but they don't know what makes their game special to begin with, so they always end up dying or they never make any money to begin with. Shout out Concord. It's almost worse to be an uninspired live service game than it is to be an uninspired single player game. An uninspired single player game that's just bland but does have a generic story is at least enjoyable. A bland and boring live service title, however, is very, very hard to enjoy in any meaningful capacity. Now, me personally, I've been kind of juggling with a lot of ideas for my videos, and I haven't been able to find a consistent format or a consistent theme that I want to stick with, but at least I try to make them intriguing, or I give reasonable conversation starters or something along those lines that keep people at least relatively engaged. However, it seems like with Sony's Concord, it was mainly focused on selling microtransactions first and then worrying about the gameplay second. The reason why people enjoy watching YouTube videos is they feel more personal, they feel more more connected, they feel grounded. You're selling the video first, and then you're selling the payment method second. Getting people into your video, getting people watching your video is the number one important thing, and then selling them ads is the second thing. And it feels like live service titles are missing this very crucial aspect. You have to sell the game on its own merits, then you can start charging people money. If you don't get people engaged and you don't get people talking about your game, then they're not going to spend money, therefore you're not going to make money, therefore you're going to shut down the game. So therefore, I would argue that the most important aspect of a live service game is the gameplay. As a studio, when you're developing the game, your number one focus should be gameplay. Your secondary focus should be monetization. If you're focused on monetization first, you're never going to make an interesting game. You're never going to sell players on spending money on your game, and I think that's what Concord really struggled with. They tried selling you, it feels like a blueprint to a game, but they never really gave you a reason to want to build that game further. And that goes for all live service titles. They're giving you a blueprint to a game and they're expecting you to pay for the final product. Greediness is just at an all-time high in the industry, and just look at GTA 6. Many developers are expecting GTA 6 to, well, make their game absurdly expensive, and then they're going to follow suit. Now, if GTA 6 is $120, is the best game and largest game we've ever seen, then that's one thing. But if you're just trying to sell me Far Cry 6 from Ubisoft and it's the same fucking thing I've played in the previous 5 games, I'm not spending $120 on your game, you can go fuck yourself. It feels like there's a big misunderstanding from developers of why they're not making more money. Your profit margins aren't tiny. The reason why you're not making any money is because nobody wants to play a dog shit game. Therefore, raising the prices would just price people out of your game and your profit margins would actually shrink. But hey, I am no CEO at the end of the day. I'm not making millions of dollars to make Ubisoft an absolute fuck ton of no money. But seriously though, what are they paying their CEO with? Because he's not making much money. So are they paying him monopoly money? Are they giving him a few blowies under the table? I mean, where is that money coming from? And he's not even building a good culture at Ubisoft, because Ubisoft has always had a terrible jock-like culture. Now, call me a skeptic, and if the gaming industry was vaccines, I'd be RFK Jr., because I am skeptical that the gaming industry is actually going to continue to grow. I think it's actually heading towards a bit of a crash, unfortunately. These ballooning prices are unsustainable. I mean, we can't be spending $2 billion on a single product and expect the consumers to pick up the weight. But okay, my rant is officially over. I know I went a bit off topic, but this video is kind of just all about the gaming industry and then a little bit about Concord, because the industry right now, and Concord's just a perfect example of it, is just lazy. They're trying to put out crappy products for the most amount of profit, and I mean, it's just not going to be able to be sustainable in the long run. Now that's all for now, honestly. I mean, there's not much else for me to say. My next video will be Spectre Divide as previously stated. As soon as it works and it's operational and I can log into it, I will play it, and the video will be out hopefully tomorrow if they figure this shit out. Please like and subscribe, it helps a lot and it'll just help push this video forward. And if you really want to help me out, let me know what you thought in the comment section below, as that would really push my video. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
How you ballin', boy, you not a starter. I only sip on Fiji water. Turn your block to Pearl Harbor. TJ Dizzle snow go harder. Niggas get wet like the crossing the border. You want my girl, but you cannot afford it. You was the type to start fights over